tifu by going to get her MTNU from my garage and getting a gun pointed at me instead. This actually did happen today at about 2 am. TL. Doctor at the bottom. My dad is out of town, so I'm home alone this week. I was up really late because I fucked up and didn't do this assignment that was due in the morning. I was starting to get really tired, so I decided to get a little hit of caffeine. I went down to the garage because we have an extra fridge there, and I grabbed a soda. I walked back to the door to go inside, but the door wouldn't budge. This is when I realized I fucked up, because not only did I just lock myself out of the house with no shirt, no keys and no phone, I also failed to remember that my home security system was armed. Right as I finished that thought, woo 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 woo, my surprisingly loud security system went off. There's a 30-second delay to allow someone to punch in the security code before it goes off. I start panicking and trying to force the door open so I can shut the alarm off. I realized that wasn't gonna work and just started pacing and freaking the fudge out. It took longer than I'm proud of. Realize that I'm in a garage and I can just open the garage door. After I raised the garage, I ran to the front door and locked, of course. Fortunately for me though, there's 3 other doors on the side and back of the house that I could get into the house from. Unfortunately for me, those 2 were locked. I defaulted back to stress pacing until I decided, fudge eat, the cops will be here soon and maybe they can help me. Well, I was half right. I open the side gate and walk back to the front of the house when all of a sudden someone screams at me, "Stop, let me see your hands." I freeze up in fear because I'm realizing that 2 cops are responding to a home invasion are now pointing a gun at me. The weird shirtless guy coming from the backyard. I complied with their orders and explained that I live here. I just set off the alarm and locked myself out. They looked up the homie, my dad, and gave him a call. Needless to say, my dad wasn't too happy to be receiving a call from the police at 2 am asking if the dumbest lot locked himself out of his own house was his son. Once they were satisfied that I lived there, one officer brought out this device that just sort of popped the door open for me. I thanked them, shut the alarm off, and used the adrenaline coursing through my veins to bust out the remainder of my homework. TL. Doctor, I was home alone late at night and got a drink from the garage, not realizing that I locked myself out and that I just set off the alarm. While I was trying to find a way into my house, the police showed up and pointed a gun at me, thinking I was trying to break in. Did you finish the MTNU? Cop, why are you drinking Mountain Dew so late at night? Apostrophe. I'm resisting arrest. Wait, that didn't sound right. Apostrophe. LPT. If you're tired but need to get your homework done, try to break into your own house, get the cops called on you, and ride that adrenaline rush to straight A's. I used to work for an alarm company. We never thwarted a burglary in my time there. All we did was make people's lives miserable. On one occasion, the homie accidentally entered the panic code into the keypad. The police showed up and killed him. I will never have an alarm in my house. This just made me so sad. In the short time I worked there, I lost a little bit of my soul. The worst thing about locking myself out is when I have to call my mum and tell her that I need her to come and let her idiotic daughter in. Blaming it on your sister. Smart. Had something similar happen to me. It was scary as hell, and the way they handled it made lose what little respect I had for police. My wife and I have a built-in china cabinet in our home. The kind that's common in 100-year-old houses. That's when ours was built. On top of the built-in we have 60 to 70 framed pics of our families and her kids. There is exactly one picture of her and I up there in the mix. One night she was at work and I was home and set the alarm for away on accident. I also stupidly forgot I had set it at all. I was in our bedroom and our dog wanted out. I walked into the dining room to head to the kitchen and tripped a motion sensor. I was pretty quick to shut the alarm off, but missed the call from the alarm company. I was getting ready for bed and turned my ringer off while sleeping. While standing in the backyard, the police showed up. 2 out front and 2 out back and all had guns drawn. My dog ran towards them. With my hands up I begged them not to shoot her. She's a big dumb goofy ass loving dog. Lot thought they were there to play with her. I spoke just in time apparently because the cop said he almost shot her. They handcuffed me and brought me through my house to the front porch. I tried explaining to them what had happened, and they weren't trying to hear any of it. We had been in the house about 6 months at that point, and had previously lived 3 blocks over. When they asked for my ID, they again thought I was lying, because it still had my old address on it. So I told them to go look at the pictures on the built-in, and they'd see my wife and I in one of the pictures. One of the officers went in and grabbed the picture, bringing it out to the front porch. He asked if it was the picture I was claiming to be in. Since it was a picture of me and I was super annoyed with the whole situation, I made some snide remark. In all fairness, I had no beard and shorter hair in the picture, but I did tell him exactly where to find the picture. These questions continue for about 10 minutes and they are telling me they are taking me to jail. I was still in handcuffs, and I was angry as hell, and my attitude probably wasn't helping. The whole time they just kept insisting I was burglarizing the house. Finally I told them to call my wife and she could verify I was in fact allowed to be in my own home. They asked her to come home to see if she could identify me. She's freaking out thinking something's happened to me and flies home. She gets there and they don't ask for her ID or anything. She explained it was obviously all mistake. They uncuff me and tell me next time to be more careful. No apology, no nothing. Spent an hour dealing with them in cuffs, and it cost my wife her job. She told her immediate supervisor she was leaving, but not her actual boss. Her supervisor gave her permission and vouched for her, but it didn't matter because of the zero tolerance policy. She'd never been late or written up. Shitty night for both of us over a serious misunderstanding. How awful. My mother has this insanely loud alarm system, complete with flashing strobe lights. Well, I was visiting, and she had given me the wrong code, and when I entered it the damn thing went off. So here I'm at this house by myself with this alarm/light system making havoc with everyone's hearing, and causing epileptic seizures for anyone within a half mile. I bailed. I just jumped in my truck and drove downtown to a bar, and drank for a few hours, until she got home. I had this happen to me at an office job, except the cops didn't do shit. Luckily for me, I was working in the main lobby, so all the cops did was shine a light on me and then left. My co-workers didn't realize that activating the upstairs alarm system turned on all the alarms in the building, not just the upstairs floor. My parents forgot I existed once, and I went out with some friends. When I came back, my dad was still awake and came charging at me with a gun, until he realized that yes, I'm his daughter and no, I'm not breaking in. Funny how they have a device that they can just pop the door open with, but when serving a warrant they choose the old key to the city in the form of an iron battering ram that will not only destroy the door and knock it clean off its hinges, but shatter the door jamb and the wall as well. Life pro tips: when Mountain Dew doesn't work to keep you awake for your assignment, set the alarm and lock yourself outside your home. I had this same exact situation happen to me a few years ago. Parents went out of town. I stayed at their place for a week to dog/house sit. Late at night I went out to the garage for a smoke, was wearing boxers and a t-shirt only, and locked myself out of the garage and the house. Luckily my parents and neighbors got along very well, and they had a spare key to the house for a situation like this. But I had to ring their bell at 12 at night to get it, and it was super embarrassing. They have like 2 kids. How lot got woken up and were laughing at me. I'm cringing while writing this. I know the feeling of being a freeze pop when the alarm goes off. You can't even think straight, it's so loud. I was working in the home of a US Supreme Court justice, and I set off the alarm. Lol. I knew what was about to happen. So I just leaned against the hood of my truck and waited for the sugars ho. Sure enough, it seems like only about a hot minute and there were cops literally everywhere. While I'm not doubting your story, I just really need to understand exactly how you locked yourself out. Did you lock the door before closing it? Does that particular door have automatic locks like a car? Does it just not open from the outside? A lot of garage man doors are on a spring, so it'll just swing back and shut itself. Also, you can often have the handle locked at all times. Turns from the inside, but locked from the outside. Sorts. Locked myself in the backyard a few times. Thank you for the explanation. I didn't understand because mine, when locked, won't turn from either side. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.